Well, I wanted to comment on that because now with hindsight, I think that's where parents are making a lot of mistakes. Is that because the internet is so loud,
Yeah,
and when our child pulls back, it all of a sudden becomes this huge thing. And there's this void, there's this hole in your life. So you start going out and looking for solutions or what this is called or what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to write apology letters. And this doesn't even register because you don't even know what you're apologizing for. And I think that's
right.
the biggest mistake a parent can do is write an apology letter because there's so much shame in that. So we're going about this so wrong. And now I just know, after how many years, and my daughter never disrespected me. We had a weird blow up one day. She was under a lot of stress. I was under a lot of stress. And it was just what you guys said is like, I can't do this right now, mom. She's in law school. I mean, she's got all these things going on. And I was just like, no, 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 let me help you. Let me fix it. What's going on? Let me do this. Let me be your mother, And she's just like, no, I don't want you to be my mother anymore. And I was making up this story and I'm seeing these groups and I'm reading these stories. And now that became my story. And I had to do a ton of work to realize it wasn't even real. And I had to get back to what was my truth. And a lot of it was healing. So much of it was healing. And that's what our community became about. And so many people in our community are now doing that work. And all of it's about healing our childhood because we did not have stellar childhoods either. And so that's where all the work is. It's not family therapy. It's not therapy with our kids. It's not talking this through. It's doing our own work. And my daughter's last email to me ended with, I love and miss you too. I love and miss you too. And after 3 or 4 years of her just pulling back and going her own way, I mean, now I just understand. And my final response to her was, I know you're out there living your best life. Go do that. Keep doing it. There's no come to Jesus meeting. There's no what was going on with you. There's no you need to apologize to me or I need to apologize to you. It's just this recognition that she's just trying to figure it all out now. Okay, now, and we talked about all of us going through this in our 20s. Well, but there's older kids who are also doing this. I mean, there's 85 million people. This is of all ages. We have all ages in our Facebook group who are estranged. Well, there's this midlife crisis thing. If you don't resolve some of the things that are coming up for you throughout your life, then it can come back at any time. And it's not only showing up in parent child relationships. I mean, this stuff shows up in every relationship, romantic relationships, work relationships. Like Aaliyah said, you know, this is just relating. When we live in a world of others, this is what's required of us. I want to share a couple of things. Jillian brought this up to us a few episodes ago. And so there's now a break the cycle movement of what everyone who's in the pro estrangement is kind of working to say, hey, we're breaking the pattern of abuse. That's what we're doing here. So, there's different agendas. We're aware of this. So let me show the graphic. Now, I never talk to my kids this way. My parents never talked to me this way. There are some people and kids and parents that did do this. But primarily, if your child is painting a picture of a bunny, you don't come at them, unwarranted with this type of language. It's when you're stressed or they're, you know, not listening to you or doing something else, that you have those moments that you lose it. And again, there's just difference of this whole thing. we're all going through something different. There's some people on YouTube, the haters, that just share their pain and project that onto everyone else and blame everyone else. To some degree, I do absolutely believe that they were abused to some level because they're bullies. And scientifically, that's true. If you are incessantly shamed at home, you will grow up to be a bully. If you were really endured incessant shaming, you would even become a serial killer. So, I mean, there are absolutely extremes. But I think what we're talking about, for the most part, are just parents who are considered bad parents because maybe they've lost their cool. And if anyone who's lived under that type of degradation all the time, then no, maybe you don't go back to your parents. Maybe you don't have a relationship there. But 85 million people did not experience that type of parenting, and we're not that type of parent. Mm-hmm. So we really have to check in with the message we're telling ourselves and what we're believing. And something else I want to share too. Okay, this is like, not to depress everybody, because this is heavy stuff that we get into, but this is important to share because I just want some young people to be aware of this. And then to start reflecting, like Leah was saying, and ask themselves if estrangement is really the answer right now in the world that we're living in. And then I even want to offer a way to go back and heal your estrangement. I can tell you how to do this so quickly now. We have talked on our episodes about the impact of social media and cognitive distortions. I mean, we've covered so many different things. And we all lived through a time when, a certain individual became president because of his use of social media. And that was done through the movie The Facebook Dilemma, if you want to know what that backstory was, if you don't know what the story was. Okay, so how we use social media to win a presidential election. Okay, it's not a political statement, and it was done in the movie. So now I came across this, and I left the title on the bottom of this in case you want to look this up for yourself. Okay, what this is, so it's a map of the United States. All of these areas in red are military-owned bases. Okay, so this is where all of our military is stationed throughout the United States. The red signifies that the land around all of these military bases are owned by China. The land is owned by China. So it very well could be that we're supposed to be fighting amongst ourselves. We think our parents are the enemy. We think that one another are the problems. So we're not really seeing what's going on around us. And now we're getting to the point to where we just can't even deny anymore that things are pressure and tempers are getting heated, and civil war could very well be on our horizon. I think we're at like a 40% chance now that that's going to happen. So we have to think if it's really our parents and our families that we want to alienate from us right now. And I know, and again, the abusers or the bullies or the haters who are on YouTube that will never go back to their parents because they were truly abused, fine. We're not advocating that you go back to your parents regardless of how you were treating. That is not what we're saying at all. We're asking you to question your belief system and what you're seeing on the internet and what you really experienced, and the choice that you want to make as to whether or not the stories you're telling yourselves are true. And like Aaliyah said, she was getting rid of her mom a couple months ago, and now she just realized she had to make a choice to have her in her life. It's a choice. My daughter decided, she made a choice to respond to my email. It was her choice. And she still has the choice whether or not she contacts me again and we have another conversation. It will always be her choice. That will not change. But if you truly want to heal your relationship with your parents, here's how you do it. This is how I did it with my mom, because I was estranged. Except it took me many years to realize that this was a better way to do it. I remember in my 20s, I just harped on the fact that she never remembered my birthday into my 20s, into my 30s. And it just bothered me. How do you forget that day I was born? And I made this whole big thing out of it. I even asked her, like in my early 30s, Mom, why do you always forget my birthday? It almost didn't even register with her. Like, what do you mean I forget your birthday? And she's like, well, I don't know. You know, she was trying to figure out an answer. And she just said, well, your birthday's in January. Maybe I don't get around to changing my calendar till February. You know, it was like she didn't really grasp the severity of the question I was asking. I was a wounded little kid searching for answers at that point. It didn't even register with her. Well, not very long ago, since my estrangement, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what was going on in your life when I was in my 20s? What was happening in your life? Okay, now she's not put on the spot. Now she's able to reflect, and she's also able to go into a story. And she was telling me a story that I never knew. But during that time, my dad was trying to kill her and my little sister. And she was just trying to survive. And in small towns, you just try to act like everything's normal because there's this big gossip thing that happens in small towns. And so she was trying to deal with all that. And she was trying to go to work every day and just act like life was normal because that's what you did. And she was afraid for her life and my little sister's. And here I am with my story about how she forgot her birthday. But what that did for her is that was the only therapy. She's 80 years old. That's probably the only therapy she's ever had in her whole life. But it was incredibly healing for her to be able to go into the details. And she went into details and time and the timeline about what was going on. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how open she was. And just really in that moment, I know she healed so much. So if you're a strange child and you really want to understand what it means to be a parent in the time that your parent was parenting you, and maybe you did go through some hard times, but just ask your parent. Don't accuse them, but what was going on for you at this time in my life? And then you have a decision to make. You have to decide if you're going to release them from your expectations of who you thought they were supposed to be, because all of that is your perception. If you didn't think you had good parents, that's still your perception.